Hello, Bruno Martin from France. I'm a ruminant technical support for Lallemand, and I'm pleased to share practical experience about acidosis and Levucell for beef cattle. I really like meat and I really like beef cattle. So if you have a look inside the belly of one animal, one cow, you can see the large size of the rumen. This is a rumen, almost 150 liter, something like that, with of course a lot of variation from one animal to the other. Inside, mainly water and a lot of bacteria. The microflora is very rich, and in one spoon we would find 500 billion of several microorganisms. Maybe the most important are the rumen papillae on the rumen wall, mainly at the bottom. There are not a lot of papillae at the top because nothing to absorb. It's mainly gas in this area, and the papillae are located here. The total surface of the papillae that are going to absorb the volatile fatty acid is almost a tennis court. Very large surface. Inside the rumen, you can find almost 1 kg of bacteria and around 2 kg of protozoa. In France, we manage a lot of research with a national research institute called INRAE. And inside the rumen, with a dedicated team, we have got a lot of experiences, a lot of trials about this flora. And this is a summary. We can find almost 5,000 strains of bacteria, and maybe only 200 of these strains are pretty well known. A lot of them, nobody knows exactly what is their job inside, but it's really complicated, a lot of interaction between one species and the other. Another large family is a protozoa, only 20 species, not very well known too because very difficult to study inside the lab. They don't survive out of the rumen, and it's a bit difficult to explain their full role inside the rumen, but very important. They regulate a lot of things. And now we know that there are fungi too. These fungi are very important for the cellulosis digestion. The last family is the Archaea. It's a kind of bacteria, slightly different, but a kind of bacteria, and they are mainly responsible for the gas production, for the methane, and of course, it's a loss of energy. It would be better to be able to decrease them a bit, but it's not so simple. With INRAE, we store a lot of strains of Saccharomyces cerevisiae in a lab that is called Institut Pasteur. Pasteur was a scientist who invented the vaccination 2 centuries ago. And with all these strains, we try to find what are the better strains for several use. For example, for animal digestion. And 20 years ago, we found one that is very interesting in the family of Saccharomyces cerevisiae. There are thousands of strains, very different. Any of them are useful for bread, useful for beer, useful for other fermentation. I mean wine, for example. And 2 of them are specific for animal nutrition. One is specific for rumen, Levucell SC, Levucell SC is going to be alive inside the rumen with a very poor quantity of oxygen inside. Levucell SC is going to consume this oxygen and to improve later a lot of rumen function. Mainly two of them are going to be improved: optimization of the rumen pH and an improvement of the fiber digestion. Levucell SB, another strain, is living mainly in the gut and is going to decrease the pH. Levucell SC increase the pH in the rumen, and Levucell SB decrease the pH inside the rumen. This strain is very, very specific and was selected mainly because of this fibrolytic activity. This fibrolytic activity is very interesting because we are going to extract more energy from the roughage, more energy from the diet. This is the first point to consider for LSC. Another point is the effect on acidosis. And acidosis, as we have seen during the previous webinar, is something very dynamic. It's not only a question of base and acids mixed together. It's a true challenge inside the rumen because so many variations. Levucell SC is going to stimulate several strains, and these strains are the useful strains. We are going to facilitate the work of the strains that are consuming the lactic acid, and we are going to compete with Streptococcus bovis, and Streptococcus bovis is the strain that is producing mainly lactic acid. So at the end, there is a true improvement of the pH. We decrease acidosis and we have got a more stable pH inside the rumen. As previously described, Levucell SC is going to help for cellulosis digestion and mean for NDF, neutral digestive fiber. And Levucell is going to create a favorable environment at the rumen level with less oxygen, and all the fungi are going to be very close of these fibers and to crack these fibers. So the useful bacteria are going to be free to operate later, and we have really an improvement of the digestion of this fiber. Levucell SC is going to improve the digestibility of NDF, neutral digestive fibers. And this was checked for more than 200 roughage with fistulated cattle. So it means that it was in situ studies, and we have got for all kind of forage an improvement of the digestibility. So at the end, it means a more regular fiber intake and more energy. We are able to improve the global digestibility of the diet, and we are able to put all this information in several software. We call that the submodel. It means, for example, for the dynamic NCPS system, we are able to calculate the improvement according to each roughage. So it's a very accurate prediction about the effect of this feed additive. Globally, there is an improvement of the digestion, and we are able to extract more energy because we improve the DNDF. This is a typical diet for Europe, mainly with silage, a small to medium percentage of concentrate, but you can see a true improvement of the total DNDF of this diet. This aspect is very well documented all around the world, and in this trial you can see several percentage of concentrate and roughage. You can see the ratio roughage to concentrate, 30% roughage, 70% concentrate. And at the end, we move to a very high percentage of concentrate, only 1% of corn stalk. It's really, really low, and a very high starch content. Sure, you put more grain, you have got more starch inside the diet. And you can see that with LSC, we have got a true improvement of the pH value. This is the mean. The mean is maybe not the most interesting parameter, but it's easy to understand. The most interesting parameter is to have a look about the pH variation, about the range of the pH. We can see the improvement of the DNDF in this kind of diet too. The corn stalk are not very digestible, a lot of lignin inside, but we have an improvement of the DNDF. Another point interesting is that we are going to manage the microflora. In this trial in Australia, we compare with a challenge, a very strong acidotic challenge. Suddenly, these animals receive a lot of sugar to trigger a strong acidosis crisis. And several treatments were compared. Control, nothing, live yeast, Levucell, another antibiotics, virginamycin, and this is monensin, and this is a classical buffer, I mean sodium bicarbonate. You can see that Levucell associates in this situation with monensin sodium, very classical in your area in Asia and in the US or Australia. It's forbidden in Europe now, but we can see a decrease of the lactate. Interesting. We are going to keep under control acidosis. So the pH is improved. But another point very interesting is the quantity of histamine. Histamine is really a toxin. It's produced by the rumen under acidotic condition, and this toxin is going to translocate from the rumen through the rumen walls to enter inside the blood and to trigger inflammation and several cascade not so easy for the animal to handle with it. So we decrease this toxin and the general health of the animal, I mean the feet, for example, are going to be improved. This experiment now was managed on dairy cows and in a lab in Spain, and we use an endoscope like for human at the hospital. And for cow under feed transition around calving, we were able to take several samples inside the column or inside the rumen. You can see the papillae of the rumen and a small quantity of straw on the left. And with LSC, we know that we are able to improve the quality of the rumen wall. We are going to protect a bit the rumen wall from the translocation of all these toxins and maybe pathogens. This is a bit difficult to understand. Why? Because there is a local reaction and several genes are more expressed at a local level. If we feed with LSC before the calving is going to be a very, very strong stress for the animal. the yeast, the live yeast, before the calving is going to start to trigger a very short inflammation. It's a signal, a warning to the rumen world. Take care, a huge stress is going to arrive soon. So we start to have an inflammation, but to keep it under control, And the epithelium is going to be better. Why? Because there is a very specific protein called occludin, and occludin is necessary to maintain very tight junction between the several cells. You can see one cell and another one, and if you don't have enough occludin, there will be a very small hole between the two cells, and the toxins are able to go through. So with LSC, we trigger a gene expression. We start a small, short inflammation that trigger more occludin. And with more occludin, the inflammation is going to be under control after the huge stress, after the calving. So there is a true protection effect. Very interesting to consider. We are now going to move to several field trials. This is the rebreed Montbéliard in France in a research center, and this animal received an intensive diet for Europe, 50% of corn silage and 50% of concentrate with cereal inside mainly. Of course, there is a good improvement of the average daily gain. The growth is improved by 14%. And we have got less variation inside one pen, inside one group. The standard deviation is decreasing, less difference between the best and the worst animal. Dry matter intake was slightly improved, very slightly improved, but a really better feed conversion ratio. Feed conversion ratio is improved, and the behavior of the animal is modified to the number of meals by day increase a lot, and it means small quantity, smaller meals, regular feed intake, less acidosis, and better growth, better feed conversion at the end. This is the same trial, very interesting. You can see the whisker plot with the median. So for Levucell, we have a total improvement of more than 252 grams by day, but really much less differences inside the pen, inside the group. And on a commercial point of view, at the end, it's very useful. It's easier for the farmer to sell animals. We manage a lot of trials all around the world. The normal dosage for fattening bulls or fattening steers is 8 billion of CFU by head by day for an average animal of 500 kg, for example. This is in South Africa with very local breeds, and they were able to have a look on the rumen wall at the abattoir with a very hot diet, more than 98% of concentrate. You can see that there is a true difference between the two groups, much more rumen damages for control. Of course, a difference on the growth, a difference on the feed conversion ratio at the end. You can see that the dry matter intake is very close among the two groups, and this is very relevant and this is very common. You have an improvement of the dry matter intake only if you had a very strong acidosis at the beginning of the trial. We move now to Spain. Spain, Spanish farmer are feeding the cattle mainly with very starchy diet. a bit maybe like in Korea, and this trial was managed with Angus to have more marbling. There is a market too for this kind of meat in Europe. You can see an improvement of the average daily gain, a better feed conversion ratio, and we were able to equip a couple of these animals with this reticular device, this reticular bolus. The brand is SmackSteaks. Every 10 minutes, we have got an idea of the pH, about of the rumen temperature, and we can make a lot of calculation. You can see that the pH mean is improved, but mainly we have reduced the time with a too low pH, so much more regular for Levucell group, and at the end, a very interesting improvement of the feed conversion ratio with high cost for feed currently. It's something to consider. We move now to Greece. In Greece, a lot of farms are going to fatten French animal. It's a dry country, uneasy to produce a calf, so they buy them from France, and you can see a French breed, Blonde d'Aquitaine. And we are going to fatten this animal with a hot diet, rich on concentrate. You can see a lot of cereals inside, and we add in the treated group the technical dosage, I mean 8 billion of CFU by head by day. Of course, improvement of the growth, average daily gain improved, and we can see a better feed conversion ratio that is interesting to consider with the current very high feed cost. Now we move to China. In China, in this university at Beijing, there were 3 treatments, one control, one normal dosage, technical dosage with LSC, and a competitor with a yeast culture that could be interesting in many situations too. We can see a better growth. The average daily gain is improved, more dry matter intake because the digestion is improved. It's possible for the animal to eat more, and the feed conversion ratio is improved at the end. You can see the feed conversion ratio is not so good with this kind of breed. It's a bit high, but we have an improvement. And at the end, for the carcass weight, that it means the turnover for the farmer, it's improved. And they had a look in this university about the meat quality, and it's interesting to understand that there is an effect not only about the carcass weight, but about the fat, about the shear force. If the shear force is very high, like in the control, it means it's going to be very difficult to cut the meat. I will need a lot of effort, and the tenderness is not good. If you decrease the value, it's very interesting, and Levucell was on good position about this, because maybe the metabolism of the animal was improved, and it seems to be in relationship with the fat absorption inside the intestine, but this information need to be confirmed in the future because there are not so many trials showing this improvement. In Argentina now, we have got always the same kind of dosage for the animal. It's the control, and you can see with these Angus steers an improvement of the growth that is not so high, but an improvement of the quality of the carcass too, more fat on the back. Meat quality in Italy, it's not in a farm, it's in a university. So with steers, Charolais breed, it means animal arriving from France, we have got a better feed intake, we have got a better average daily gain, and we were able to decrease a bit the bloat issues. That is interesting, but the quality of the meat was improved with a lower pH inside the carcass. So it means that the aging of the carcass is going to be better, and the losses as the meat was cooked were slightly decreased. Same kind of trial in Italy, in an Italian university, always the same dosage, and we check the interaction between the percentage of protein inside the diet with a high or a low percentage of undegradable protein. You can see in the two kinds of diet with the technical dosage, we have got an improvement of the growth, we have got an improvement of the feed conversion ratio that is slightly different from one diet to the other. But this trial had a look on the meat quality too, and we check the shear force about the sirloin. And there was really an improvement of the tenderness of the meat. So we are very confident about the effect of LSC to improve the quality of the meat. It's something that is very favorable to have a better tenderness and more fat inside the diet. Of course, if you want to reach a lot of marbling, you need a lot of energy in a diet. You need your specific breed, your specific techniques, but you know that Levucell is favorable to this high quality meat. In the US or in Australia, Levucell can be used mixed with rumensin or monensin. It's a very common, and I'm sorry because there is a word in French, I miss it, but the days on feed, 161 days, 161 days, we have, on a global point of view, in this feedlot system, an improvement of the average daily gain, and the carcass weight was slightly improved too. Levucell is very well documented. I show you several trials, commercial trials, university trials, but we have got an official meta-analysis with 16 official trials in peer reviews, very scientific articles with more than 7,000 animals all together, and you can see that on a global basis, we can say that the improvement of the growth is almost 100 grams. It's the value to keep in mind. With a normal dosage, 8 billion, we can reach 100 grams more. Don't forget that Titan is a specific method. It's something that is patented by Lallemand, and we are able to coat our yeast with a very specific process, and the yeast are going to be able to be used in pelleted feed, and they are going to support, to accept very high temperature and very high pressure. Of course, at the feed plant level, it needs to be checked because it can be slightly different from one plant to the other, but we are very confident. We have got very confident, consistent results on this specific point. Levucell is widely used all around the world, and if I make a calculation with European values, the cost at the farm level is 5 to 7 cents, by day according to the kind of yeast that you are going to use. The tightened is slightly more expensive than the vermicelli form, but at the end with 100 grams more for the turnover for the farmer is better, and there is a global improvement of the economic of the return on investment. As described previously, there are a lot of other effects. Levucell is not working properly only on average daily gain, but also on other parameters. And for example, we can have improvement about the animal behavior, the animal comfort, and all these things are important to consider. Don't forget that acidosis is not only linked to concentrate or to concentrate formulation. There is a global farm management too, and the timing for feeding, for example, is very important to check. We described in the previous webinar the importance of a good housing, a good bedding, a good water quality, and all these small details are necessary, need to be checked at the farm level. I would like to thank you a lot for your attention and maybe for your question. I would be very happy to be able to exchange a bit more with you, so don't hesitate to ask me question. Feel free. Thanks a lot. I wait for your question.